Hi folks, today we're going to talk about the types of chemical changes. There are 5 basic types of chemical changes. The first one is synthesis. This is where elements get put together. So on the reactant side you'll have 2 elements that are separated, and then on the product side they become a compound together. Decomposition is where a compound splits apart, so it's the exact opposite of a synthesis reaction. Single replacement is where a single element that's all by itself gets replaced with another element that's in a compound. Double replacement is where an element from each of the 2 compounds on the reactant side, they just swap places. And then combustion almost always requires oxygen and forms carbon dioxide and water. Okay, so here we have carbon and oxygen. They're going to participate in a synthesis reaction. So if we take those reactants and move them down, see what's happening to them. It turns out they're just going to smush together and form CO2. Now that we know what the products are, we can move those back up to the top. And again, that is a synthesis reaction. Now we have sodium chloride, normal table salt, and it's going to do the opposite of a synthesis reaction. It's going to do a decomposition reaction. So we take our reactants, move it to the bottom. We see the sodium and the chlorine splits apart from each other into 2 separate elements. They're no longer a compound. And then our reactants are then sodium and chlorine, so we can put that back up at the reactant spot. Again, this is a decomposition reaction. Next, we have zinc and cupric chloride, or copper chloride. This is going to be a single replacement where the zinc and the copper switch each other out. So we take our reactants down here, and we see that the zinc and the copper just switch places. Since one is an element and the other one is a compound, it's just that single element that goes into the compound and switches places. We call it a single replacement. And then we move that back up to the top for the products. And again, that's a single replacement reaction. Next, we have a double replacement. That's when we have 2 compounds and an element from each compound switches each other. So we have table salt again and silver nitrate. And we bring our reactants down and we see the sodium and the silver switch places. And that gives us silver chloride and sodium nitrate as our reactants, so we can move those back up top. And again, that is a double replacement reaction. Finally, we have a combustion reaction. This is the combustion of methane, where CH4 reacts with O2. Oxygen is always necessary for a combustion reaction. And when that does combust, we make CO2, or carbon dioxide, and we make water. These are always the reactants. The reactant always has an oxygen, and the products always have CO2 and water. That is the key factor of a combustion reaction.